People of Bhopal, capital town of India, state Madhya Pradesh, sleeping through a cold night on 2nd and 3rd December 1984. Nothing was out of ordinary, and the night seemed like any other silent, shivering winter night of the region. But that was only superficial. Somewhere in the eastern part of the city, something nightmarish was happening inside. The pesticide plant of the Union Carbide India Limited, an industrial disaster of incompatible magnitude, was about to happen. The Union Carbide India Limited plant was established in 1969. Majority of the shares were owned by Union Carbide Corporation and less by Indian authorities. The factory used to produce a pesticide which UCIL had banned as Civin. A chemical called methyl isocyanate was used for producing this pesticide. Therefore, the factory stored a large amount of methyl isocyanate inside its premises. On December 2nd, 1984, it was routine day at UCIL factory in the Bhopal. Methyl isocyanate was stored in under tank. The pipeline washing started at 9:30 as a routine maintenance operation. Between 10:30 and 11 p.m., workers engaged in the pipeline washing became aware of leakage. Little attention was, however, paid considering a normal leak. Casual attempt was made to trace the source of leakage, but of no use. The leak continued. Around 12:15 to 12:30, the pressure in the tank raised up to 55 pounds per square. Water had been to leak into the tank containing 42 tons of methyl isocyanate. The resulting exothermic reaction increased the temperature of the tank over 200 degrees Celsius. An operator saw that the concrete above the tank was cracking. About 12:30 am, the relief valve of the tank gave away and large quantity of methyl isocyanate gas leaked into the atmosphere. The workers at the factory realized the risk of massive disaster. They tried to activate the safety system available at the factory about 12:30 am. There were 3 safety systems, but they were not in an operational condition. Then they tried to burn off the toxic gas. This system was also not in the working condition. The piece of pipeline leakage to the tower had been removed for maintenance. The workers then tried transferring the methyl isocyanate from the tank into a nearby tank, but the gauge indicated that the tank already contained something, whereas the gauge indicator was found to be defective later on. After failure in all the 3 safety systems, workers attempted to douse off leaking gas with the water sprayer. The water spray reached height of 100 feet from the ground while the tank was at 120 feet. At 1 am, nothing could be done to stop the leakage. Thousands of people living around the plant were as suffocating gas effects and burning effects of the gas. As on 3 sides, the UGCL plant was surrounded by the slums and other poor settlements. The people living in these colonies were the worst sufferers. There was no warning or guidelines to the general public around this time. There were 2 types of alarms in the factory, one mid-siren of workers and one loud public. The public siren was started only about 2:30 am. Since the gas leaked from the 30-meter chimney, it was not high enough for the people to escape the effects. It was not long before the entire city was enveloped by an invisible but extremely toxic gas. People of Bhopal began to feel the effect of the toxic. People who were cozy lying inside the houses a few minutes ago, they now began to feel suffocation, cough, burning eyes, vomiting. Streets became crowded with the people running here and there for the help. Local hospitals were soon overwhelmed with the injured. The crisis further compounded by the lack of knowledge of exactly what gas was involved and what its effects were. Within the hours, the streets of Bhopal with the human dead bodies and buffalo bodies, cows, dogs, and birds. About 3,000 people died immediately on that night, and around 6,000 died next 1 week. Yet another 15 to 20,000 people died over longer period of time due to the effects of the poisonous gas, and about 5 lakh people were directly or indirectly affected with the 38,000 temporary, partial, and roughly 3,900 permanently disabled injuries. The Union Carbide factory did not have much information about the safety storage of these highly toxic gases. The doctors near did not had any knowledge about the cause of their illness, and there was lack of coordination between the factory and the emergency services. There were not many trained professionals. The plant was in a densely populated area of the city, which was against most known laws. There are many theories of entry of water into the tank, whereas the workers claimed that because of bad maintenance with the leakage valves, etc. There were early warning signs of trouble like headache, but these were ignored on 25th December 1981. On this day, it had killed a worker and even injured 2 others, whereas it was neglected. Even on 9th January 1982, 25 workers were hospitalized as a result of another leak. The workers had decided to complain about the leakage and the safety issues and even about the low wages, whereas the requests were denied. As a result, it led to the worst industrial disaster of all. On 7th, the CEO of Union Carbide was arrested in Bhopal but later released on bail. In December, the Central Bureau of Investigation filed a charge sheet against him and others. In 2003, the ministry sent a request to United States. However, these further requests were turned down. In June 2010, 7 ex-employees, including the former chairman, was convicted in Bhopal of causing death by negligence and sentenced of 2 years imprisonment and a fine of $2,000. The 8th former employee was also convicted but died before the judgment was passed. A compensation nearly of 470 million US dollars was paid by the Union Carbide to the government, but legal delays, including the identifying the victims, slowed the payout rate to the crawl. Many years down the road, after the Bhopal disaster in 1984, some basic cleanup efforts had taken place, but a lot of contamination is still there. The local people had to live with the environmental pollution every single day. More than 100,000 of people are still suffering from the effects of the gas, which includes respiratory problems, cancer, congenital birth defects, blindness, and many other diseases. Every year since then, scores more are still dying in Bhopal from the various after effects. It had resulted in many children being born with the genital defects. It has also had a long-term impact on the reproductive cycle of affected women and the quality of the breast milk. Besides the effects on the people, it has even affected the environment. There are still hundreds of tons of toxic waste alone, which could lead to a continuous poisoning of the soil as well as the groundwater. Some areas in and around the factory are still so polluted that someone entering that area is likely to lose the consciousness in less than 10 minutes. While the Bhopal disaster has certainly received a lot of international attention, but not much progress has been achieved to improve the people lives in that area. The tragedy is a burning example of one of the deadliest disaster caused by human negligences. I hope I have shared much information about the deadliest disaster, that is Bhopal Gas Tragedy. Thank you.